Hi YouTube, how you doing? My name is Denise, and I'm coming to you live because this is my first YouTube, so I'm hoping that you all would enjoy this and more of an learning experience as it been for myself. Today I'm just going to talk to you about a couple of things. What I want to talk to you about is awareness, being in awareness of things, and always being on the lookout, and also being able to learn from many things. So let me give you an example. A lot of times, I understand as parents we have to work, and I understand that being able to work and having a job and having to bringing in the income to take care of home. And so you're not able to be home with your children. So therefore you have to put your young children in a daycare or in a facility or leaving them with someone. Okay? And it's the same goes with taking care of a loved one. So I'm going to give you an analogy or what it is when I mean by studying your homework. Now, I used to work at a nursing home, and I worked in a hospital for 2-3 years now. And it was just enough for me to see a lot of things that go on, a lot of things that you all don't even know that goes on in there. I understand that sometimes the administrators and the head command is not always out on the lookout because sometimes they're not even there, or they are busy in their office with other things. So they put the care of the CNAs, the medical terminologists, the LPNs, and the RNs in charge of the patients. And I understand that we have some patients, just like children, who gets out of control, who gets out of hand, and it's a lot. But one thing I want to say is that when you take on a job like this, you have to have patience. You have to have known what you're doing, because when you have patience with kids like this or patients like this, it takes a toll on you. So let me explain this. A lot of times, patients, families will come to the nursing home, and if a patient has a bump on their head or a scratch somewhere that they've never seen before, or it's been times when me as a worker, I've seen where patients, I've worked 11 to 7 shift. So there are times I used to work double shift, 11 to 7 and 7 and 3 shift. Sometimes I used to work all 3 shifts. And I have seen a routine with my colleagues that work there. But not all of them are like that, but just a few. And I have seen how, if you're working 11 to 7, by that time, my patients that I'm going to be getting should already be dressed, dried, and everything ready for bed. So, and the same thing in token with the 3 to 11 to 7 shift. So let me explain something to you. When the 7 to 3 shift is there to do what they need to do, it's called rush hour. They're there to take care of their patient. Most of the time, they have at least 8 patients or 9 patients during the day. If a patient is wet up and needs to be changed, a lot of times they will tell you, listen, I need help, I'm wet. Sometimes the staff will sit there, smoke their cigarette, they on their break. Oh, I'll change you when you get ready. When I get ready, this is what they do. Sometimes your loved one could be sitting there wet up all day until time for them to check out and go home. They will just take that last, will be their first or their last change before 3 to 11 shift come in. And sometimes patients don't even be changed. The 3 to 11 shift people come in. So by the time I come in, which would be my shift, graveyard shift come in, our patient already be in bed. That's the time that we can rechange them up in bed, or we can turn them every 2 hours for those that have to be turned. Listen, people, I tell you, I've seen a whole lot. I've seen where you would think your loved one got something to eat, especially if they're bedridden. Bedridden people are people that are not mobility people. Those are the ones we have to feed. So we have a time schedule where that we have to bring these individuals, and everybody have to be up by 12 o'clock in the dining area, except for the ones that are bedridden. And sometimes your loved one may not get fed. And 9 times out of 10, not because of their dementia or their Alzheimer's, they say they didn't eat. No, there are times when they will bring the food, leave it on the table, and they'll go by. And when the time has passed, because remember, there's sometimes we're short of staff when we have to feed the ones that need to be fed, or the ones that are in dining area can feed themselves, and we have to make sure they're taken care of. And then there are times when I've seen my coworkers or colleagues, like I said, we leave the food on there on the table. Your loved one didn't get fed. And when you come in there and say, Mama, Daddy, did you eat? Mama and Daddy may be telling you the truth. They didn't eat. Because what they do, they'll come up and get the tray and they write on their log sheet, say that Miss Jones already ate and Miss Jones didn't eat. So I'm bringing this awareness to you. It's the same thing as less like in a daycare. We hear so many stories about daycares. We hear so many stories about things that happen with children because I love children. I am a person that loves kids. And I worked in a daycare. And I know what it is firsthand by watching in a daycare. And this daycare was not what we say like an accredited school, where you have outside, public daycare. This was a home daycare. So sometimes you have to be careful about where you leave your kids with. And I'm not going to call the names. The person that I was helping and working for, helping her out, yes, she has a master's degree in education. Yes, sure. But having that is it's not the same as having experience, because I had experience. But let me just explain this to you. A scenario. There was a day that came in, a mother came in. She was from New York, and she came to Boston because she was finishing up her law degree at Harvard University. So they gave, apartments here are usually for dormitories. They're not regular apartments. And she allowed her son to come to this daycare, this home. And the young lady was telling her everything she wanted to hear. What the Bible said, what your itching ears wanted to hear. So as the process was going along, the young lady, we was taking him and taking care of the baby and everything. She would always leave me with the child, and I didn't mind because I raised my own. So the mother breastfeeds her child. So she would have maybe 5 or 6 bottles of breast milk. And I used to breastfeed mine, so I know what breast milk is. So we put it in the refrigerator. Now the owner, the young lady, she threw out the milk and would tell me that breast milk spoils and, you're not supposed to save it. I'm sitting here going to her like, baby, you must didn't have no kids. I later found out she never had any kids. She probably got one now, but that was years later. But she didn't have any kids. So I'm like, okay, now how are you telling these parents about all this experience you have and all this that you got when you never had an experience of children bearing of your own? See, I'm like this. If I'm pregnant and you're not pregnant, you can't tell me what it's like to be pregnant or what it's like to go through the travail spirit or what it's like to go through the sickness, because you never know, because you haven't been through it. See, this is the thing that I try to tell you all parents and people. Be careful about what you do. When the mother came back to come pick up her child, and there's been several occasions, she would ask, I know my son don't drink this much milk because I breastfeed him at home. I said, baby, I knew what you're talking about. I tried to tell her this, but she didn't want to listen to me. So let me tell you what she did. She called herself putting on what they call, if some of you will go on childcare.com, she called herself putting this on about me to say that, it was me that dropped the milk out. It was me putting whole milk in the baby's oatmeal. And I'm like, no, I had to repost that and said, no, sweetie, I'm way older than you. I've been in experience for years. So I know about breast milk because I've raised mine and she never had any kids. So sometimes you have to be careful about these home daycares. And she wanted me to tell the public a lie so that she can write a paper for me. And I'm like, I done been in college, so I don't need you to write no paper. She wanted me to take the blame for something that she did. A lot of times, parents, I'm going to tell you, when you would leave your child with the daycare at the facility, and I was there with the kids, so I knew whether they need to be fed or washed or trained or changed or anything, she would be out in the streets. So when you parents will call her phone and ask her questions about your child, whether your child was fine or how he's doing, what did he eat, this is what she would do. She would tell you, let me call you back, or I'm in the midst of changing a child. She's nowhere in the facility because she's never there. Once she comes, it's the time for you to come pick up your child. So she would get information from me to relate back to the parent to say, oh yeah, Johnny's fine. Johnny just ate some apples. How would you know if Johnny ate apples when you're not there? See, that's what I'm saying. Parents, you have to watch out about things you do. And I'm telling you this from straight up. I love your kids. I would do anything for your kids. I'll take care of my grandmother. I worked in a hospital. I worked in a nurse home. I've taken care of patients, and I've taken care of kids. So my thing is that when you bring your loved ones into a facility, research it first and be careful. Ask questions, because when you don't ask questions and you just taking things that people say, you will be running with it. And it's just like I said again, what your itching ears want to hear. And then you will find it's too late. She finally, the mother finally knew that I was telling the truth, because there was no way that I would put some baby milk, whole milk in the food. And the mother kept watching while her baby was waiting a certain weight. And she started asking me a lot of medical questions that I already knew. And when she began to ask the staff, the head of her daycare, same medical stuff, she couldn't answer it. So that's why I'm saying I'm bringing this to you all, because I want to just let you all understand that a lot of times when you bring your loved one into these facilities, like the nursing home and stuff, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know. You have some good CNAs, you have some good medical, you have some good RNs, you have some good ones. But when those ones that are gone in the day are gone for the day, and there's a different transition of people that comes into that room, it's different. And their attitudes are different. Sometimes they might have a bad day and take it out on your mama. We hear stories about, male nurses or whatever having sex with your loved one. You see, these are the type of things, that you will have to watch out for. And I just want to bring that attention to some of y'all. And that's again, do your research. The Bible says to study yourself a workman approved unto God, even with the word. Sometimes people will tell you things, bring a word and read it in the Bible. It may not be just what it says until you read it for yourself. That's why it's important to get your commentary, get your thesaurus, get your dictionary, get your marker, highlight things, get you some index card. A lot of them don't want you to be that intelligent, don't want you to be smart enough to notice them, because they want to be about themselves. So again, I say to each one of you, be wise and do your homework. Until then, peace.